Hi, my name is Shan and welcome back to the chaos that is Shani and Books. Today I'm doing a video that has taken me like 3 months to finally finish off, but it is reading BookTubers 2021 favorites. I love these reading BookTubers favorites videos. This is obviously not my idea. Plenty of people have done it. I am very inspired by Books and Lala as always. I've done quite a few reading experiment videos that have been inspired by her, and I love when she does the reading BookTubers favorites videos at the end and beginning of the year. So I was very excited to do this. If you've seen on my channel, I have been doing a reading BookTubers favorites like series where I pick a booktuber and read books that they've enjoyed for a week, so I'll leave that playlist below. But this is going to be one video with a bunch of booktubers. Obviously at the end of each year, booktubers come out with lists of their favorite books throughout the year. So at the beginning of 2022, as I was watching the videos as they came out, I had been screenshotting mentions of books that I was thinking that I wanted to use for this big project, and I did include like honorable mentions because some people did their list and then like honorable mentions as well. And originally I was just going to do the top 10 books that I was the most interested in that I saw pop up in people's videos, and I did start doing that, but then after I'd read a couple of books I changed my mind because I got some of the books from the library. I picked up some from Big W and some I already owned, but I realized that I should really prioritize the books that I already had on my bookshelf. So after beginning, I changed my tactic and then I created some challenges or rules, and this is again inspired by Kayla from Books and Lala. So the first challenge, I wanted to read the books that were mentioned the most. So the first half of the books that I chose for this were books that I saw getting the most mentions. My next rule was that if a book showed up in a list that was already on my shelf, then I had to include that in this. I did my best with this rule because I did add this challenge in after I'd already started. So I went back and watched some of the videos, but I possibly could have missed some books that were already on my shelf, but I think I got them all. And then my last rule or challenge for myself was that I wanted at least one book in this video that I had never heard of. So here are the books that I'm about to read in this video. I'm filming this intro at the end if you couldn't already tell. I'm sorry if I missed anyone's. I tried to remember to screenshot as I was watching the videos as they were coming out towards the end of the year and the beginning of this year. So please forgive me if there's anyone that I forgot to include in this video, but there's probably people who mention these books as well that I'm not including, but I did my best, guys. So these are the books. The books that were mentioned the most, we have Amari and the Night Brothers, which I found on 6 People's videos. They Never Learn by Lane Fargo, which was also on 6 People's videos. Rock Paper Scissors by Alice Feeney in 4 different videos. People Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry in 4 videos. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which was in 4 videos, although this one I included it if someone mentioned any book in the series because this is a series. Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune, which was in 3. Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby, which was in 3. Beach Read, that was mentioned in 2 videos. And now we're down to the books that were mentioned one time only, but these were the books that I already had on my shelf. Or some of the ones that were mentioned multiple times, they were also on my shelf, but these ones I had to put in because they were in my shelf. So Watch Over Me by Nina LaCour, Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson, Know My Name by Chanel Miller, The Bone Houses by Emily Lloyd Jones, A Lesson in Vengeance by Victoria Lee, and The Anthropocene Reviewed by John Green. And then lastly, to fulfill my challenge of a book that I had never heard of, I added in Acts of Desperation by Megan Nolan. So they were all the books that I'm going to read. So there's 15 in total, and I think I included about 20 different booktubers. And then I made this cute little illustrated graphic that will be popping up throughout the video with a stack of books. So here are all the books in my little cute graphic that I made, sorted by the amount of mentions. So the couple that had 6, and then the next few that had 4, the 3 mentions, 2, and then all these bottom ones were mentioned once. So yes, I've got 15 books that I'm going to read throughout this video. I don't know if I'm going to call it a vlog because there's not much vlogging, it's just me popping in once I've finished a book to tell you what I thought. But let's get into it. And I apologize that a lot of the updates come from the same location because at the moment my life is, we're in a weird phase, and I'll update you on my life eventually, but for now, here's this video. It's literally only the first book of this vlog and I already have forgotten to film an update. Will this vlog end up happening? Who knows? But I've read a book which is Beach Read by Emily Henry, which is a romance book in which these two writers that went to uni, college, whatever you call it, together, end up being neighbors, and they're both in a bit of a writing slump, so they switch genres. They have this little pact where they switch genres and are writing from each other's genre. But yeah, obviously it's romance and they end up falling in love, which, I mean, that's not a spoiler because it's a romance. I buddy read this as well with Sasha from Sash Reads. I'll leave her linked below. And yeah, we both really enjoyed this book, which is nice. And this is the type of romance that I like. I like when there's other things happening in the story and there's a bit more substance than just the relationship. I feel like I just get bored if we're just reading about the relationship the whole time, but this does deal with some other topics and themes, which I did really appreciate. I really loved the banter between the two main characters. There was like some sarcastic comments that I was literally laughing out loud at. But yeah, really enjoyed this, and I can see why this made some people's favorites of the year list because it was really good. It was a romance, but there was also other things happening. There was the death of a family member. There were some discussions about, I guess, experiencing trauma and abuse growing up. And so, like I said, I think in a romance, I need something else going on. It doesn't have to necessarily be a dark or hard-hitting theme woven within, but there needs to be something else in it other than the relationship, and this had that. So super excited to read Emily Henry's other book for this video, You and Me on Vacation, People We Meet on Vacation. There's two different titles. Oh, by the way, this makeup is meant to be like the colors of the cover of this book. I don't know, I gave it a try. Hi, I keep forgetting to update because I keep forgetting that I'm vlogging this. I mean, am I even vlogging this? I keep going back and forth about whether I want to just cancel this whole idea, but no, I'm determined. I'm gonna finish this vlog idea. And as you can see, I've got, you can't see, some tabs going. There were heaps and heaps of really great quotes in this one that I highlighted and tabbed. Basically, if you don't know what this book is about, it is about this man who dies in the first chapter, and then this reaper comes to get him and takes him to this tea shop where there are a group of people that he meets who kind of help people who die move on to the afterlife, sort of thing. An uplifting story about a life spent at the office and a death spent building a home. So the main character is someone who is very invested in his work and his job before he dies. So there's lots of discussions about what was the meaning of his life. Like, did he think his life was good? And there were also just like lots of really great quotes about life in general. And I did really enjoy this, but I don't know, I just found myself tuning out a little bit at times. I don't know why. I don't know if it was the mood I was in or, but yeah, I think I'm gonna give this maybe a 4 because I definitely didn't enjoy it as much as The House in the Cerulean Sea. Or did I? Now I'm thinking about it. I don't know. But this is also something that I would definitely reread. So I really enjoyed the reading experience. I would 100% recommend this to people if the premise at all sounds interesting. As far as fantasy goes, this is in the realm of the fantasy books that I would pick up, I guess. I do struggle with finding fantasy that I like now because a lot of fantasy is just not my taste, I think. Sadly, so far out of the two books, not any all-time favorites, but two very enjoyable reads. So there's that. Okay, I've finished 2 more books since I last updated you, and they are 2 super quick, fast-paced thrillers, hence why I've read 2 since the last update. But anyway, so first up I finished They Never Learn by Lane Fargo, which this one is one of the ones that was mentioned in people's favorites the most times, and I can definitely see why. This one is about this professor at a university, college, and she has been taking it upon herself to kill men who have wronged women. So I think the opening one is a student who was involved in a gang sexual assault of another student at a party, like at a frat party sort of thing. And so yeah, she kills him and tries to make it look like a suicide. And yeah, we find out that she has done this to many, many men. And yeah, we're also getting chapters from this young girl, a student at college. So we're alternating between the two perspectives, and I thought this was really amazing. The plot twist was really, really good in the middle. I like turned back a page and had to like check to see like whether I was like thinking the right thing when I was reading it. And yeah, I thought this was really good. If you are looking for a really fast-paced thriller that is like feminist and deals with a lot of like women getting back at shitty men, then this is the one for you, and I can totally see why it was on so many people's favorites list. I ended up giving this one 5 stars, and yeah, I got this from the library, but I kind of want my own physical copy now because I feel like I would reread it, which I feel like thrillers aren't something that people reread a lot, but I feel like I would reread this one. I don't know. I also really loved like the way they spoke about the social anxiety of the young girl, like the chapters from the young girl, because yeah, it was just talking about how she was like in classes and she just felt like everyone was laughing at her. Like if people were laughing, she was worried they were laughing at her, which just really took me back to high school when I was like super socially anxious. But yeah, really, really loved this one and I would recommend it. I think so far this one is my favorite one that I've read, maybe. But I also really, really enjoyed the other thriller that I've read, which is Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. It is following this couple who are going on this like little getaway to try and re-spark their relationship that they felt like it hasn't been going so good. But the holiday is to this like secluded like house in Scotland and it's like snowing. Yeah, so we're following this couple, and then in between the chapters we are also getting these letters from the wife to the husband, and the wife had been writing letters each year of their marriage, like on their anniversary sort of thing. I feel like the plot twists in this one are not as shocking. Like as I was reading, I was trying to predict what was going to happen, and then a couple of the like little reveals, I kind of had half predicted that it was going to be what it was going to be. But I feel like even though it was slightly more predictable, it still managed to shock me. Like I still thought it was really well done when the twist actually happened, even though in my mind I was kind of thinking that it might have happened. But yeah, really interesting. The husband also suffers from, I forget what it's called. No, it doesn't say. But it's like he can't recognize faces. I don't know, I'm sure you've heard other people pitch this, but I think I do like They Never Learn a little bit more, but definitely enjoyed both of these and would recommend them. Okay, I have finished another book and it was a masterpiece. It's definitely my favorite that I've read for this video so far, and it is Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. I originally had this on hold at the library, but I'm so glad that I purchased my own physical copy instead, because this is something that I will definitely be rereading. I read most of it today. Yesterday I read up until that orange post-it, which was only about like 80 pages, and then I read the rest of it all today. I was super engaged by this one. I feel like this is the type of thriller that not everyone would like, just because of, I don't know, I guess everyone likes different things in a thriller, and this involved a lot of like fighting scenes and stuff like that. So if you don't really like that in thrillers, then obviously this one's not for you. It's funny, so far the three thrillers that I've read for this video, they're all so different in like the vibes of the thriller. Like this one is, we know who the killer is because it's the perspective that we're following, and then this one is there's a couple and we know that something goes down, but we don't know what it is that goes down, and we're just like waiting to find that out. And then this one, which I haven't really told you what it's about, but I'm sure you already know, this is super popular, is we know who dies, and we're following the two characters that are tracking down the person who killed their sons. So yeah, all three of these have like a really different thriller style. Like if one of these didn't work for you, maybe the style of thriller of one of the other ones will. Thankfully, all three worked for me, but this is definitely my favorite. Again, you probably already know what it's about, but there are these two fathers named Ike and Buddy. One is black and one is white, and the whole premise of the story is that their two sons were married to each other, and the fathers weren't exactly accepting of their sons being gay, unfortunately. And so their sons were murdered, and then Ike and Buddy are teaming up to find out who murdered their sons because the police really aren't doing anything about it. And there are so many great discussions in this book. There's also a lot of triggers. Homophobia, obviously, because both the fathers in the beginning, you know, talk about how they feel a lot of regret over the fact that they kind of cut their sons out of their lives almost, and didn't want to be involved in, you know, their new family after they married each other. So yeah, there's a lot of homophobia, there's transphobia, there's racism, but yeah, this was incredible. It felt like a movie. After I read that first 80 pages yesterday, this morning, like I could vividly picture it. It felt like a movie, like a Quentin Tarantino movie or something. Actually, this needs to become a movie. Can someone make this into a movie? Because this feels like it would be a really good movie. Like I'm picturing it now. Like I said, this isn't the type of thriller that I think everyone would read, and for a little bit I was thinking that it wasn't my type of thriller. I didn't love the whole fight scenes in it. Oh, you spilt your drink. Uh-oh, do you need some help? Okay, he's spilt his water all over himself. But yeah, 5 stars, and this is definitely my favorite book that I've read for this so far. Okay. We'll be back later. Okay, now that I've read a few books, here is the ranking. Hi. Need to do another update. I have considered scrapping this vlog so many times, but I just can't bring myself to do it because I just want to complete it, and I'm also reading some really good books. But last night I finished reading Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson, and Tiffany D. Jackson I think is going to be one of my favorite authors. Monday's Not Coming is one of my favorite books. If you saw my favorite books of last year, it made the very top of my list. I think I had it as number 2 or 3. And Grown was absolutely incredible. So I definitely need to read Tiffany Jackson's other works as soon as possible. But to talk about this one, this is, I think, inspired by the whole R. Kelly stuff. I know in the back it said it's not like a retelling of that. Yeah, this book is not about R. Kelly. It's about adults who know the difference between right and wrong, because no matter where you stand on the issue, he knew better. So yeah, I know it's not like a retelling on that, but it's like a reminiscent of the situation with R. Kelly. It is basically about this young 17-year-old girl named Enchanted. By the way, this is like one of the prettiest book covers. Wait, what is going on with my lighting? Now you can see my Woolworths bag. Okay, anyway, this is one of the prettiest book covers. Like, I love this. Like the art style, and it's incredible. Anyway, this young girl, Enchanted, who... Kian's gonna talk in the background. Really, yeah. Exactly. Okay. Oh my god. This is the chaos. Anyway, this young girl... Okay, Kian. So, Enchanted, who wants to become a singer... So she ends up getting recognized by this big celebrity named Corey. Oh my god. No. She ends up getting seen by this big celebrity named Corey Fields. And he ends up taking an interest in her and telling her that he wants to help her launch her singing career. Obviously she's only 17, so her parents have to give permission for her to go with him on tour. And Corey, along with his assistant, end up convincing the parents that it's going to be something different. And yeah, obviously he is, I think, in his late 20s and she's 17, so he is just not a nice person, and basically grooms her and pretty much just brainwashes her. It's really hard to read. There are trigger warnings at the start, which I really appreciate. I wish all books would do this. So content warning, mentions of sexual abuse, rape, assault, child abuse, kidnapping, and addiction to opioids. It's a really heavy book, but Tiffany D. Jackson's books just really hit hard. And yeah, there's some parts in this that are just, it's so sad that things like this are happening in real life. And there's a really sad discussion about how women in situations like this don't come forward, or when they do come forward, they just aren't believed. In particular, black women is what it was talking about. But yeah, it's just really sad. Obviously, she gets swept up into his life and he does not treat her very nicely. If you're familiar with the R. Kelly thing that I was talking about, it is very similar to like what was talked about in, I think it was in the documentary that I watched where I heard about that. Anyway, I don't know how I'm gonna go with my ranking for this, because I can't tell if this is in the number 1 or the number 2 spot at the moment. So at the moment, number 1 and number 2 in my ranking are kind of interchangeable. I might change my mind later on, but yeah, that's my ranking. And I started the next book. I'm in a huge reading mood, so I'm hopefully gonna fly through the next few books. But I've started this one and I'll be probably back today or in the morning to tell you about this. Hi, it's like a couple of hours later and I just sat down and finished reading Watch Over Me by Nina LaCour, which is the next book for this vlog, if we can even call it a vlog. Hopefully the quality isn't too bad. I don't know, I'm having technical difficulties over the last few weeks with my videos, but it's fine. This book, I really enjoyed it. I am struggling to think about what my rating and my ranking in this list is going to actually be. Basically, we're following this girl, Mila. I'm not really sure if that's how you say that name. But I was a school teacher and I taught a couple of girls whose names were Mila, spelled this way, and that's how they pronounced it. So I'm not really sure. Anyway, we're following this girl, Mila. We're gonna call her Mila for now. And she has been in the foster system and she's just turning 18 or just turned 18 and finishing school. And so she gets accepted to be an intern at this farm. Is that what they referred to it as? I don't know. Offered a job and a place to live on an isolated part of the Californian coast. Oh yeah, the farm is a refuge. Okay, so yeah, it's called the farm. Yeah, so she is an intern at this farm and the people who own it, live there, have fostered a lot of children. And so she goes onto this farm and she's going to be teaching this little boy who also lives there. And yeah, I feel like this is a book that isn't going to be for everyone. I feel like this is something that some people will probably hate just because it's like a very specific style of book, like a very specific reading taste, I guess. This isn't one of those books that everyone is going to love, which is fine, and I did really enjoy it. For a while I was thinking it was going to be a 4-star, and then I thought for a while it was going to be a 5-star. Really, it's about like trauma and grief, but I really liked the way that it was written. Some books just don't like explicitly have to say things in order to get the message across, I guess is what I'm trying to say, and this is kind of like one of those. So there are aspects of these ghosts and these weird like hauntings that are happening at this farm, and yeah, I just think the way that it talks about just trauma. The back says a modern ghost story about trauma and survival, chosen family and rebirth. And yeah, I think it worked for me and I think that it was very well done, so I want to rank it pretty highly, like high up in my rankings, but I'm not 100% sure. I need to sit and think on it a bit, but I'll insert my ranking now because by the time I edit this I will know where it stands. But yeah, I personally think that it worked really well and I think that it's really well done. I'm gonna go and look at some reviews. I have a feeling there's gonna be some people that really didn't enjoy this book, and that's fine because reading is subjective and everyone likes different things. We don't all have the same taste in books, which is perfectly fine. But yeah, I personally thought this was very well done, and I kind of liked how we didn't 100% know what was going on through some of the story. But yeah, I would recommend this, even though I just said like not everyone's gonna like it. If you think this is something that you would like, it's also like really quite short. It's only like 250 pages. I read the whole thing today, so definitely a quick one to get through. Also, this cover is really cool. I really like the cover. Yeah, so I have a few more books to go in this project. I'll be back for the next one. I'm also really struggling in this vlog, and another reason why I wanted to kind of scrap it. I'm struggling with the fact that, I guess it's not really a bad thing, but I am really enjoying all of the books that I'm reading, which I have said before that I think I am quite an easy to please reader. Like most books I find something to enjoy. And although there are certain books that I have really disliked, I think a majority of the time I am pretty easy to please when it comes to reading. So I feel like a lot of the times I rate books highly and then I feel bad about it, but then it's like, if I enjoyed it, I enjoyed it, that's fine. So I was getting a bit nervous for this video thinking, well, I'm liking all the books, but that's fine because the whole point of the video is that I'm reading BOOKTUBERS favorites. So I'm reading books that I know people have liked. So if I'm liking them all, then that's not a problem. So far, so good, but I don't want to jinx it. For the remainder of the books, there's a couple that I'm a bit nervous about, but we'll see how we go. Okay, hi, I'm here for another update because I have finished reading another book. I'm realizing that I am always like in a similar location. It's probably really boring, but anyway. I finished reading Acts of Desperation by Megan Nolan, and honestly, I'm not really sure what I'm going to rate this because I'm feeling unsure about my thoughts. This was a very interesting book, and I didn't have tabs on me, so I literally was dog-earing quotes and pages that I want to go back to because there were a lot of quotes in this that yep, Ken's there now. There were a lot of quotes that really hit hard for me, and as I was reading, I was thinking that I was going to rate it quite highly because of that. There were also a lot of aspects that was so far from anything that I can relate to, which is fine because you don't have to relate to everything that you read in books. But yeah, there were a lot of very relatable quotes within this. Basically, if you don't know what this book is about, which possibly you wouldn't because this is the book that fits a book that I've never heard of, like thing that I wanted to check off for this vlog, which this one was in Jan's list, and I think she's like the only person I've ever heard speak about it. Basically, it is this woman who is a bit messy, I guess you would say, and has this... Kian just pushed a bunch of books off the table. Awesome. Has this kind of need, I guess, yeah, a need for like love, but also for... Oh, hang on, he's drawing on things. I'll come back. Okay, sorry, it's chaotic. I'm back. Yeah, I think I was saying it's like a need for love, but also... Now he's gonna talk. Like self-destruction and... He's gonna talk about the book now. And yeah, really depicted like unhealthy relationships as well. There's a lot of trigger warnings in the book, so be aware of that if you are interested in reading it. As for my ranking, as the video goes on, I'm feeling less and less like I want to even rank the books, but we also are past halfway now because there are 15 books and that was my 8th. So now we're past the halfway point, but I think I'm going to change the order of things. Still unsure whether I want to swap Grown to spot number 1, but I have ended up moving Rock, Paper, Scissors down because even though I said I enjoyed it and I thought it was 5 stars, it's something that I'm not going to think about again. Whereas some of the other books I am. I also moved Beach Read down because of the same reason, I'm not going to think about it again. Whereas Under the Whispering Door, I will. Same with Acts of Desperation. Under the Whispering Door and Acts of Desperation, I have like a similar thought where there are parts that I kind of was just like flicking the pages, wanting to get past it. And then there were quotes that just really resonated a lot with me. So I can't talk now because he is crazy. Yeah, that's why I did the little switcheroo. You say bye.
No, where?
Okay, Kim. You pressed something. What did you press? There was like a thing that came up on the screen. What was that? Okay, let's go. It's the double chin for me. Oh yeah, you're telling as well. Good morning. I was awake in the middle of the night last night thinking about books. That wasn't the reason I woke up, but then while I was awake I was just laying there thinking, if you can't tell by my tired eyes. And I do feel more confident now about my new ranking. I don't really know. The top two I know are definitely my top two. And then I had Watch Over Me third, which I feel more confident about now because I do really like the writing style of that one as well as the way the story was told. And then I put They Never Learn, which was also a very enjoyable thriller, and I feel like it belongs in this position. And then I put Acts of Desperation next, which at first I was thinking maybe that was wrong, but the more I think about it, the more I think that it does deserve to be this high on the list. Because I did really also enjoy the writing style of this one. It's like little vignettes. I don't know what it's called. I think that's what it's called. It almost felt like a diary entry, and it made it really quick to read, but I also really liked the way that that was written. And just because of how well some parts of the story just hit, I don't know how else to say it. Like there was one part where I actually cried because of one of the lines in the story. And even though I said that at points it was hard to read because like the character wasn't relatable, was like making some really bad choices and doing some bad things that I did not agree with. Like that's the whole point, is that she was doing these bad self-destructive things. So even though it was like hard to read, like that's the point of it. So yeah, I do feel more confident now that Acts of Desperation is in this spot. And then Under the Whispering Door was kind of like a similar thing. Like there were parts where I wasn't really interested, kind of like Acts of Desperation. I was just kind of flicking through the pages, but there were a lot of really great sections. So yeah, I feel like I needed to bump this one up. And then even though I enjoyed Rock, Paper, Scissors, I'm not gonna think about it again. Some of it was a bit predictable, some of it wasn't predictable, but there were parts that I kind of knew it was gonna happen. So yeah, I feel more confident about bumping that one down. And then Beach Read, it was a fun time, it was a romance. It was a good romance, but it's not like super memorable. I think the reason why I was having so much trouble ranking them, which maybe I just shouldn't rank these books, but I think the reason I was having so much trouble is because I really enjoyed them all. So it's like hard to rank books when you enjoy them all almost equally. So we are past the halfway point now, so let me do the rest of the reading and we'll see how this second half of books goes. Today isn't going right. I have a little bit of time for myself, so I was going to find a nice spot like at the beach to read, but I don't know if you can see the windows, but it is pouring down raining. So I don't know why this always happens when I say I'm going to go to the beach, it rains. But anyway, instead I have some library books that I need to return. So I'm going to return these. Some of these are for this vlog, so I need to return Rock, Paper, Scissors and They Never Learn. And then I'm just going to find somewhere to read, and yeah, then I'll update you. Okay, so to say that today hasn't gone to plan would be an understatement. I never get time to myself, so I literally brought with me the next 3 books that I'm planning on picking up for this vlog, thinking that I'm gonna get all this time to read, and at least I returned my library books. But then after that, this car wasn't looking where they were going and it almost ran into me, and then I was like so shaken and panicked, and then yeah, ended up having a panic attack and I was just crying in my car. So that is great. Not, but the rain has died down a little and I am parked at the beach, but the weather's not super great, so I don't want to actually go on the beach because it will, like, I'll get rained on. So I think, so that this vlog isn't just me updating you on the books from the one spot in every single clip, I'm going to take you down to the beach. We can have a quick look, and then I will try and read something before I have to go. But yeah, this has been a complete fail. I literally read like 5 pages of my book before I had to go, so that was a fail. But what I wanted to update is that I finished reading this book the other day. Amari and the Night Brothers by P.B. Alston, which was the book that was mentioned in the most videos that I watched, and I can definitely see why. It is a really great middle grade book. I'm sure you've heard it pitched about a million times. I don't read a lot of fantasy, but when I do, I feel like a middle grade is the safe bet for a person who doesn't read much fantasy, because it is a little bit lighter and easier to follow. Maybe it's like a 4.5. But yes, it was really enjoyable, and whenever I wasn't reading, I kept thinking, like, when is the next time I'm going to be able to pick it back up and keep reading? And I will be continuing on in this series. The second book I think was meant to come out this month, but I think it got pushed back. So yes, definitely excited for the next book. I haven't been doing like a midway check-ins because I figured this video would be too long because there's 15 books, but I'm like 100 pages into You and Me on Vacation, and the first 50 pages I was not super interested or invested, but it's starting to pick up now. I really like the banter between the characters, and the main character is like making some funny jokes, so I am enjoying that. But I'll check back in when I'm done. I don't foresee this ranking very highly, but yeah. Oh, here's my ranking with Amari in it, and I will come back when I have another book to add to the list. Okay, so I have finished another book. I finished You and Me on Vacation, also known as People We Meet on Vacation. And I think I'm gonna give this like 3 stars, maybe 3.5. I'm really sad that I didn't love this as much as everyone else, because I feel like I'm seeing everyone just loving it and raving about it. It was alright, but it just took me a while to get into, and then I don't know, I just think that maybe friends to lovers books aren't for me. If you didn't know the plot of this one, it is about these 2 friends that spend every summer together until one year something happens, and we don't know what until further into the book. And now it's 12 years later, and Poppy, the main girl, asked Alex, the guy, to go on a summer trip with her, and yeah, it's about them seeing each other again after kind of not seeing each other for a few years. And yeah, I just feel like maybe friends to lovers isn't for me, because I didn't really love it. I did love that there was like a reference to one of Emily Henry's other books to beach read. Yes, on page 110 it says, then follows up with an Augustus Everett book, which I read it and I was like, that name sounds familiar. And yes, that is the main character in Beach Read, so it's cool that there's like a little crossover. And I do think I will read Emily Henry's new book that's coming out this year, even though these ones weren't my favorite. So at the moment, I'm sorry, but this one is in the bottom place in my ranking, which doesn't mean it's a bad book. I would still recommend it to people, but I preferred Beach Read. And yeah, I think I'm going to be hesitant to pick up friends to lovers books in future, because I just feel like it wasn't super fun for me. But I'm happy for everyone else who enjoyed it. I'm sorry. I feel bad, but reading is subjective. Anyway, I'm going to try my hardest to get through my next couple of books, because my March TBR is packed. I just filmed it today and I don't want to take those books into March. So let's see how we go. Okay, hi. I have a disappointing update. I think I'm going to DNF a book, which I did not want to do for this video, but I'm really sorry, but I think I'm gonna DNF A Lesson in Vengeance, Well, the Light. I know this was on some people's least favorite of the year, but I really wanted to love it. And to be honest, I was loving like the first 30 pages. It is like this boarding school where there's like this mysterious things that have gone on, and there's these references to like these witchy vibes. But as the story's gone on, I just am caring less and less, and I feel really bad, and I'm so sorry, but I cannot push myself through books that I'm not 100% enjoying anymore, because I just have so many books that I want to read right now. So I'm so sorry that I have to DNF this. So sorry, Jessie. However, it does make me feel better that so far my #1 favorite book is the other book that I got from Jessie, so that's actually okay. But yeah, I know some people loved this. I was looking on Goodreads at people I have in my friends list, and there were some people that gave it 4 and 5 stars that I'm friends with. So if you are interested in this book, definitely still read it. It is a fantasy book, so it was going to be hard for it to come high on my list anyway because it is fantasy, but I'm so sorry, I have to DNF this. I just can't be bothered. The girl is like explaining what happened to her friend, and it's like different to the other story that everyone else knows from the newspaper, and I just can't push myself through it. I did make it like halfway, almost halfway, but I did finish another book, which is The Bone Houses, and I did enjoy this one. This is a fantasy, a young adult fantasy, so I can enjoy them. This gave me vibes of like Game of Thrones when the Nightwalkers were like a big part of the story, because this is basically this town where there are these bone houses, which is basically just zombies. It is just the dead coming back to life, and these two characters go on a mission to try and stop this from happening, because you know, they can't just have dead people coming into their town and just messing things up. But yeah, this totally gave me vibes of Game of Thrones when they were dealing with the Nightwalkers, like really badly, except a young adult version. But I thought this was great. There are a few quotes that I marked down in this, and I think I'm going to give it 4 stars. But the fact that I actually enjoyed this, I am shocked. At the beginning, I was getting a bit worried because the first, like, I don't know, the first maybe 70-ish pages, I was like, uh-oh, I don't think I'm gonna like this. But yes, thank you, Lacey, for telling me to read this, because I did enjoy it. I definitely think there are other fantasies that I could possibly enjoy more. I just have to find them. But yes, this was my recommendation from Lacey. It's been sitting on my shelf for so long, so I am so happy that I finally have read it, and that's that. So I have 3 to go. I have the 2 non-fictions. I'm going to read this one next. I think I can hear Ken coming, so I'm going to have to go. Okay, this is Chaos. Bye. Okay, so I think I jinxed it when I said that I was enjoying all of the books, and the ranking was stupid because I was giving all of the books 4 and 5 stars because I just read a 1-star book. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. But I finished it last night, and I've tried to sit on my thoughts so that I can convey them in somewhat a good way, but I'm gonna give A Good Girl's Guide to Murder 1 star, I think. I'm so sorry. I feel so bad now. I wish this was 4 or 5 stars. I wish all of the books in this video were 4 or 5 stars, because now I'm feeling really bad that I'm about to hate on a book that a bunch of people like. Literally, this is so popular. Heaps of people rave about this book. But did I read the same book as you guys? Because this was terrible. Look, reading is subjective, and we can all like what we like. We like different things, but oh my god, this was bad. I'm sure you've heard this book's plot a bunch of different times, but we're following this main character named Pip, who lives in this town where 5 years ago there was a murder of a young girl, and the boyfriend was the main suspect. He ended up committing suicide, and so yeah, it was ruled that he did it. She died, then he killed himself. The case is wrapped up. That was the end of it. But yeah, 5 years later, this girl named Pip, who is in high school, does not believe that's what happened. So she decides to get to the bottom of it for a school project. Now, I do know that this is a young adult book, so you do have to suspend your belief about reality a little bit. And I know I'm not a young adult anymore, so obviously I'm not the target audience, but setting aside the unrealistic plot, because yeah, we're just gonna forget the fact that yeah, a teenager is solving a murder case. That anyway, we're gonna pretend that that's not even the main problem here for me, unfortunately. I wish that was the main problem. So where to start? The boyfriend that died is Indian, and his brother Pip involves in this investigation. She goes to him for help, so obviously the brother is also Indian. Now Pip is white, and this just screamed like white savior vibes to me. I don't know if anyone else got that. I guess not, because I've never heard anyone say that about this, I guess. Apart from the fact that the two brothers have Indian names, and that it was mentioned that they were Indian probably twice in the entire 450-page book. Were they actually Indian? Now, I'm not Indian, so I need to try and look up some more reviews from, you know, some own voices reviewers, but I did see one where if I can find it, I'll link it. She had said that if the author had done a little bit of research, there were like really small things that she could have added in that would have made it, you know, a bit more realistic of an Indian family, just like little small things. So this reviewer had suggested that the author didn't really put too much time into researching like traditional Indian things. So yeah, apart from the fact that they have Indian names, and there was like one scene where they were going to do something and the friend, what was his name, Ravi said, I can't do that. If I get caught by the police, a brown boy doing blah blah blah. Because I thought, okay, the first part of this book, I thought it was going to be making some really great comments on like racial profiling by police officers. I do need to look up more reviews from people to see if there's anyone that agrees with me. But that was the vibes that I got from it. So that was the first thing that really rubbed me the wrong way. The second was that there was like pacing issues in my opinion. Like I feel like I have whiplash because I was really enjoying it and then all of a sudden I was just bored and waiting for like the next part to go. I will say that the audiobook is great, and if I was rating just the audiobook, it would get a much higher rating, like the audiobook production. And if I did not have the audiobook, I probably would have had to DNF it because I would have been too bored. And let's talk about Pip. I rolled my eyes a lot. She just did things that was like, and look, to read a book you don't have to agree with every decision that the main character makes. For example, Acts of Desperation that I read earlier in this video, the main character was making some bad decisions and she was self-sabotaging, you know, and obviously I was annoyed at the things the character was doing, but I was more like, oh no, why are you doing that? With Pip I was like, ugh. It was like that type of being annoyed at her. And what even was her character? Like, the book is called A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and Pip is meant to be like this good girl, but the only thing we know about her is that she does her homework and she doesn't go to parties, and that is her character development. Like, I feel like I didn't know her at all, and she's portrayed as like this awkward girl. Like, I think it was mentioned a few times, like, oh, why am I so awkward, like in conversations, and yet she manages to get all these characters to just confess their life stories to her whenever she talks to them. And it also has two instances of her, you know, finding somebody guilty, and obviously no spoilers, the person then turns to her and is like, you know, well, you caught me and here's how I did it, and did this big spiel about how they did it, how they got away with it. And that happens twice. And yeah, I just feel like she is meant to be a good girl, but she actually was not a very nice person. She obviously, for a school project, is digging up this case, and she was specifically told, do not contact the families, and that's the first thing she did. But funnily enough, when it came to contacting the Indian brother, she just barged into his house and pretty much forced him to answer questions. But the white sister, when she saw her, she was like, oh, probably shouldn't disturb her. You know, I don't want to upset her. But yeah, she just went against everything. She was like manipulating her friends into getting information, doing things, like logging into people's Facebook accounts and like forcing her friends to it. And then the last thing, because I don't want to keep shitting on this book, I'm so sorry, but I just have to give my opinion because I'm so confused and I want to see if there's anyone else that has a similar opinion to me. So please comment if you had a similar opinion about this book to me, because I don't think I've seen a single person give it less than 4 stars. But the last thing is that it literally is Pretty Little Liars in book form. Now, I haven't finished watching that show. I think I watched it probably when I was in high school, and I probably made it a few seasons in and that's it. So I don't know how that TV show ends and if it ends anything like this, but already just from the first few seasons there's so many connections to this book. Pretty popular white blonde girl dies a few years ago. There is older characters having a relationship with younger characters. The popular girl that is mean to her friends. Popular girl fat shaming someone, that happens in Pretty Little Liars. There is like the token lesbian, I think, in this book, that's in Pretty Little Liars. And the studious academic friend. There is the somewhat shady cop. And then there's like the bad boy. It's like all the characters are the same. The secret motel hideout. I just feel like there is so many connections to Pretty Little Liars that's in this book. But yeah, I'm so sorry to everyone who's list I got this from, and I'm so sorry to anyone else who enjoys this book that is watching, but yeah, this was 1 star, and I DNF'd A Lesson in Vengeance, so I feel like it can't really go below that, otherwise it's not fair. Should I pick up A Lesson in Vengeance and keep trying? No, I have too many books to read. I don't know, I don't want to end up in a reading slump. So this is going to have to go in the second to last place, but only by default because I didn't finish the book that's in last place. I think that's all I had to say about this book. I'm so sorry, this clip is really long. Okay, I'm gonna go. Thankfully the next book is the John Green book that I'm reading, and it is going a lot better. I think it's probably gonna be 5 stars. I'll come back when I have something better to say. I'm so sorry. Okay, so I have finished reading The Anthropocene Reviewed by John Green, and I gave this 5 stars. It is essays just about honestly a bunch of random different things, and this book made me laugh out loud and also made me cry. There was one particular essay that made me both laugh and cry within the one essay, and I think this was really great, and I read it at the perfect time because I'm in a real non-fiction mood at the moment, which is good because the last book for this is also a non-fiction. But yeah, I'm going to rank this, I think, towards the top in like spot number 3 or something. I'm not going to say too much more about this. I do kind of wish I was sitting with my highlighters and tabs and pens so that I could have annotated it as well, but I'm probably just going to reread it, which is fine because I love rereading books in order to annotate them. My dust jacket got a little banged up because my child. But yeah, on to the last book. And that brings us to the end of the video with the last book, which is Know My Name by Chanel Miller. Now I am wrapping up the video here, but I've technically not finished this book. I am about 100 pages in only, but I do not want to finish this book before putting out the video because I want to take my time to absorb everything this book is saying. So I don't want to feel like I'm rushing it so that I can put the video out. I know that this is absolutely just incredibly written. It is such a great book, and I'm going to rank it in the number 1 spot, but technically I wouldn't rank this in the list at all. It is wonderfully written, extremely powerful, and will be no doubt 5 stars. But I've been ranking these books based on my enjoyment, so I feel uncomfortable like determining my enjoyment of this book because it is a memoir that is discussing a sexual assault case. So yeah, I've been ranking the books on enjoyment and rating, and so it feels weird, but I'm putting it in the number 1 spot, but technically it would be ranked in a category of its own. This is the memoir of Chanel Miller, who is the survivor of the Stanford sexual assault case, and in the 100 pages that I've read, I literally cried in the introduction. We weren't even into chapter 1. It was like the first page, and then I've cried multiple times reading it. Just her writing in this is, if you haven't read this, please read it. You need to make sure you're in the right headspace for it though. I wasn't 100% sure if I am, so that's why I want to finish this video now and have not finished the book, because I might need to slow down, take my time reading this one. But some of the things that she's mentioning in this is just so smart, the way she's written it. Like, she's putting it in comparison to other things to just really drive home the way that victims are treated. Let me just read some. I'm not going to read too much because we'll be here all day if I read all my highlighted sections. In rape cases, it's strange to me when people say, well, why didn't you fight him? If you woke up to a robber in your home, saw him taking your stuff, people wouldn't ask, well, why didn't you fight him? Why didn't you tell him no? He's already violating an unspoken rule. Why would he suddenly decide to adhere to reason? What would give you reason to think he'd stop if you told him to? And in this case, with my being unconscious, why are there still so many questions? I just feel so sad for how she was treated, just being in the situation at all, but then by people afterwards. And the fact that she had to go through all this. Imagine you're walking down a street eating a sandwich and someone says, damn, that looks like a delicious sandwich. Can I have a bite? You'd think, why would I ever let you eat this sandwich? This is my sandwich. So you'd walk on, continue eating, and they'd say, what, you're not going to say anything? No need to get mad. I was just trying to compliment your sandwich. Let's say this happened 3 times a day. Strangers stopping you on the street, letting you know how good your food looks, asking if they can have some of it. What if people started yelling out of their cars about how much they wanted your sandwich? Let me have some, they'd exclaim, driving by with a honk. Were you supposed to say, I'm sorry, no thank you, every time? Would you feel obligated to explain over and over again that you don't wish to share, it's your lunch and you don't know them? That you don't owe them any of it? that it's a little unreasonable that they're asking in the first place. All you would want is to walk down the street eating your sandwich in peace. Maybe I'm making this worse by comparing a woman's body to a sandwich, but do you see what I mean? Yeah, this is amazing. So that's my review of the small amount of Know My Name that I've read so far. And I'm sorry I'm ending this without technically finishing the final book, although I also didn't finish A Lesson in Vengeance, which I still feel really bad about, and maybe I'll come back to it eventually. But I think it actually wouldn't be fair for me to force myself through it and rate this book. Like, it wouldn't be fair to the book, because there are people who will and do really love it. I did originally purchase this for Jan's book club, and I was going to read it for Sapphicathon with everyone else, but I was in a huge reading slump and I just couldn't read a single word at that time. So the only reason it was on my shelf to begin with was for a book club, so it wasn't something that was initially on my radar as something I wanted to pick up anyway. So what did I learn from this big experiment that's taken me 3 months to finish? Not much, because the romance novels and the young adult novels, the fantasy ranked lower, still enjoyed most of them, but those are my less enjoyed genres anyway, so it was to be expected. The Tiffany D. Jackson book ranked very high, which again was to be expected because Monday's Not Coming was one of my favourite books of last year. Were there any surprises? Well, this was a surprise. I didn't think this would be so lowly ranked because everyone loves it. Still don't know what the heck happened with that, but we're moving on. And I would say that Razorblade Tears was a bit of a surprise for me, ranking so high. I knew this was going to be good, but I didn't think it was going to be that good for me. And then, would any of these make favourites list for this year for me? Probably Razorblade Tears and Grown are my two contenders to make my own list. Also possibly Know My Name, but I feel like it's always hard for me to put non-fiction up against fiction. I don't know why, they just feel separate in my brain. I am really glad that I did this experiment. I love doing the testing of the booktubers favourites. I still really apologise to everyone who enjoyed A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and I just shit on it. I'm so sorry. But yes, thank you to all the booktubers who were in this video because I love you all. And thank you for creating content for me to consume. I was going to do a little stats thing at the end here where I spoke about like how many books in each person's video I had read and what percentage of those were high and low. The video's long enough already. I still don't know whose taste aligns the most with mine. Interestingly though, some people's, for example Naomi's, one of the books that was in her favourites video was in my least favourites video, and one of the books that was in my favourites video was in her least favourites video. So I feel like our taste is hit and miss, because I think I did enjoy most of the books that I got from her video. But yeah, I'm going to wrap it up because I'm not going to do that stats section at the end. So thank you to the booktubers I included, which were Gabby, Deja, Sid, Lacey, Renee, Jan, Hannah, Naomi, Steph, Cami, Riley, Meg, Jessie, Michaela, Molly, Noelle, Chandler, Noelle, and Sav. I will obviously have them all linked below. You probably know most of them already though. But yes, I think that's it for this video. It's long enough. I'm going to go now. If you made it to the end, you are an absolute star because this video was ridiculously long. It was so much fun to make though, and I'll see you in my next one, which will probably be a weekly reading vlog instead of a vlog that spanned 3 months.